20 years.
We call people like the last name, like the.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's regular council meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2013, approximately 7 p.m. We'd all kindly rise for the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Amen. Please remain standing. Officer Merkel will now do the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare and bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You all may be seated. Chief, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mayor Cinco.
Here.
Mr. Erb.
Here.
Dr. Grieslock.
Here.
Mrs. Drumheller.
Here.
Mr. Johns.
Here.
Mrs. Allison.
Here.
Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Ramsey.
Here.
Mrs. McKinney.
Here.
Mr. Dice.
Here.
Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mrs. McKinney. Or Mrs. Worksman, sorry.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now, this is one of the fun parts of being mayor. We get to swear in some new officers. And obviously, we have another program right behind that, and I promise we'll get into our regular council meeting. But right now, if our officers will join me up at the mics. Is this on?
Sound like it.
Anyway, you probably can hear me. Before we swear the officers in, we're going to have Chief Pascarella do 2 moments of silence, one for one of our officers who recently passed. And as everybody knows, tomorrow is the 12th anniversary of 9/11. So if you would all kindly give a moment of silence to both. Chief, if you would.
First, in honor of the victims of September 11th, a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And secondly, in honor of Officer Paul Bodner, our comrade and friend that we tragically lost on August 30th. Moment of silence for Paul. Thank you.
Gentlemen, if you'll join me.
We're pleased to be back to welcome the newest members of the department and to have them sworn in, take their oath of office in front of the community and their families and friends, continue that tradition. You'll see in a few moments that these 4 officers continue to bring a wide range of training and resources to the Monroeville Police Department. The swearing in of these 4 officers brings our current staffing level to 46. Let's start with Officer Matt White. Matt, come up. Matt's 39 years old from Lynchburg, Virginia. He came to us from the city of Pittsburgh, where he had 13 years experience. He was an instructor at the police academy in the city, a member of the bomb squad, and a member of the hazardous materials team. His wife, Patricia, is here with us this evening. His son, William, who's 7, and Caitlin, who's 6. Wave. James McDonald. Officer McDonald also is 33 years old. He's from Youngstown, Ohio, and he also comes to us from the city of Pittsburgh, where he had 6 years experience. We've stolen 4 so far, and they're not real pleased with us. But
That's okay.
that's okay. We'll take them. His wife is with us. Her name is Amy, and they're twins, twin 2-year-olds, Connor and Abigail. Pierre D. Felice. Pierre is 29 years old. He is from Greensburg. He came to us from the Irwin Police Department, where he had 5 years of experience. His wife, Jill, his son, Pierre, and Cohen, who's 8 months. Where you at? Last is Chad Hoffner. Officer Hoffner is 26 years old, and he's from Pitcairn, born and raised in Pitcairn. He worked at both the Pitcairn Police Department and then most recently at the University of Pittsburgh Police Departments, where he had 2.5 years experience. And his girlfriend, Nicole, is here with us tonight. Okay, left or right? One step to your left, line up this way. Here.
Gentlemen, repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I, Pierre D. Felice,
Having been appointed an officer of the Monroeville Police Department
having been appointed an officer of the Monroeville Police Department
by the act of Monroeville Council,
by the act of Monroeville Council,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
I take this obligation freely without mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Just take one step back.
Thank you, Chief. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a nice round of applause.
Just a second.
As they clear out, I just would like to just officially welcome all of you to the Monroeville family and hope you have a very long and successful career with us.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I stated earlier that I have another little program I would like to present this evening. You know, we obviously, or maybe some of us, not all the time, but take our police and our fire and our EMS personnel almost for granted. They do such a wonderful job, and unless you're in need of them, you just really don't think about them. But on August 30th of 2013, as you all remember on the news and on a paper, and I'm sure you all heard about that very severe accident we had when one of the rollers rolled on top of one of our people that subcontract and do a lot of our road work for us. Fire Chief Harold Kotoski from Fire Hall 6 requested that the municipality of Monroeville honor the 4 residents with a certificate of valor for their assistance on extreme accident that happened on that very day. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to just go over a couple of notes that I've written down, and if you would, please. While a paving contractor was working on Saunders Station Road, the heavy steamroller was on a hillside, had a mechanical failure, causing the roller to lose all of its brakes. This caused the operator of the machine and the machine to thrust down Saunders Station Road. The roller came down to a stop in a wet creek on the side of the road, causing it to flip over on top of the operator. The operator of this machine was severely injured and pinned under the roller in mud and water. Monroeville Fire Department and police were notified in seconds of the accident by one of our inspectors who was at the site at the time that they were working on the paving project. The first public safety person to arrive was Deputy Chief John Roundtree from Station Number 4. He immediately requested McGill's Auto Service to assist in this accident with 2 heavy tow trucks through our dispatch center. Both trucks were there within minutes. Paramedics from Monroeville Fire Department, along with Forbes Hospital Emergency Medical Director and trauma surgeon, were providing medical care. While they were doing that, the fire department was performing a very delicate and strategic heavy lift rescue to free the operator from under the roller. With the direction of the fire department officials, medics, and a coordinated successful rescue was performed by lifting the roller using specialized rescue equipment along with the 2 heavy tow trucks from McGill's. Matt McGill, Mark McGill, Jeff Cook, and Joe Dombrowski from McGill's Auto Service followed exact and precise orders from Chief Harvey and lifted the 18-ton-plus roller off the injured worker. The paramedics and EMTs and firefighters then had to maintain life support and physically dig this young man from the water and the mud. The injured worker was removed from the mud and handed over to the medical staff from Forbes Hospital, where he was rushed by one of our ambulances. It is with great pleasure to inform you that the operator is doing much better and recuperating thanks to the efforts of our Monroeville Fire Department, Rescue and Emergency Team, Forbes Medical Trauma Team, Monroeville Police Department, and the employees from McGill's Auto Service. It is my honor to award Matt McGill, Mark McGill, Jeff Cook, and Joe Dombrowski with the Award of Valor for their actions that assisted in saving the life of this operator on this very frightful day in August. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please give these 4 young men a nice round of applause. Dave, are they all here? Are they all here?
Have him stand.
Come on up here, guys. And just so that you can all see this, I'm not sure if you can catch that on camera or not. It says Certificate of Valor presented to Matt McGill. This is for all of them. For outstanding volunteer work in assisting Monroeville Police, Fire, and EMS and medical personnel from Forbes Hospital at the accident scene on August 30th, 2013, with a paving contractor working on Saunders Station Road. This was awarded today. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give them a nice round. Joe? Thank you much. Jeff? Thank you, sir. And Mark? Let's give them one more time. Thank you really loud. You know, a lot of times, just so you know how serious this was after talking to Chief Katofsky, that these young men had, and when they say precise, what Chief Harvey was giving them, they meant any slip, any mistake on their part, that young man wouldn't be with us today. So that's why I felt that each of these 4 individuals really deserve recognition. Once again, thank you all. Thank you for your service to the community. We got to give the staff a couple of minutes to get things set up, so. Take it easy, JB. We're not that big a hurry.
Joe used to work for the water authority. I can't remember if he retired.
Thank you so much for getting
The
that.
kid in the yellow shirt. Let's let him get up. Joe, can we continue, or we have to wait till?
Yes, sir, you're ready to go.
Okay, very good. Council, we'll move over to our approval of our minutes of Citizens Night meeting of August 8th, 2013, and the council meeting of August 13th, 2013.
Mr. Mayor, the council minutes are not ready yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just the Citizens Night.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Again, Citizens Night meeting of August 8th, 2013.
Yes, sir.
Any further corrections or additions? Motion on the floor.
Move to approve the minutes as August 8.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Moving over, approval of our reports of our tax collections. Once again, council, any further additions or corrections?
I just have a question on this. It says that we're at 85% this year of where we expect to be. Last year, we were at 82% at this same time. And we're expecting additional $3 million What is the real expectation that we're going to see that $3 million? Or is it, I guess you were going to check with the earned income tax collector, and I believe that our real estate tax collector has already said that the $468,000 is questionable at best. So where are we with respect to this $3 million?
I did, the earned income tax generates approximately 1.6 to 1.7 quarterly, and those payments are made quarterly. And I did speak with Keystone, and we budgeted $6 million this year, and they're expecting us to at least collect $6.5 million, probably more than that. Last year, we collected close to $6.8 million, and we were very conservative because we weren't certain as to what the collections would be this year under the new Act 32. So we're expecting more money from earned income tax this year.
So we should, this $3 million number that we've been concerned with is still on target to be met then? And mostly, not obviously through the real estate, but
Right.
mostly through additional funds in the earned income tax that we didn't anticipate when we created the budget.
I would say yes, we do have some areas of concern that we're watching closely and that everyone needs to be aware of, and specifically the largest one is the real estate. But we do believe that we are moving in line with what the budget is this year, mostly from the earned income tax collections.
Okay. And our tax collectors, the real estate tax collectors done a great job of collecting the real estate tax. We're at 92% at this point.
Right.
So looks like we're at least on target to do approximately what we did last year, so.
And Mrs. Worksman, to follow up on what Mr. Erb is asking, for Keystone, have we been billed by them yet for their incidentals, their postage, things of that nature?
We're billed on a monthly basis on their report. They deduct it right from their final report that they issue for every month.
So the 1.6, 1.7 is probably like is the net?
Correct.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Susan or Lynette? Or I should say, and Pat's here too, so. Seeing none, motion on the floor.
Motion to approve the reports of the tax collections.
Second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Moving over to our payroll report. Council. Motion on the floor.
Move to approve payroll.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Moving our list of bills. Clarence, we'll start off with you.
I don't have any.
Very good. Steve?
I have no questions.
Very good. Diane?
None.
No
Yep.
questions, sir.
Lois?
And my questions were answered Thursday.
No questions this
No
evening.
questions, yours.
Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
And budget transfers. Any other questions or comments on our budget transfers? Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve our budget transfers?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Moving over to our vacancies and boards, commissions, authorities.
Yes,
Yes,
Mayor.
Mayor.
If I could have a comment prior to appointing. To give a little background or to explain to the residents how these things work, boards, commissions, authorities, it's a two-step process. It's a monthly process. First, an individual is nominated, a month goes by, and then they are appointed the following meeting. Well, it's proposed that they are appointed. Individuals are either sought out by the council person. Maybe it's someone that they know that thinks that they would fit a board or a commission very well. Maybe it's somebody who requested to them and asked to be on it. And other people, they just send in letters of interest to the manager, which gets forwarded to council. This month, or last month rather, I nominated an individual from the second ward. Also, Mrs. Drumheller also nominated an individual from the second ward as well. Certainly that is within her right to do that. But past practice throughout the municipal history is that when it comes to nominations and appointments of individuals, it's typically handled by the representative who is representing that ward. Both these individuals are nominated from the second ward, which is the ward I have been elected to represent, and I chose to nominate an individual based on his interest via a letter to the manager. Last month, and also this month, there was some information handed out to council regarding Mrs. Drumheller's choice for nomination. And I would like to ask, council can certainly consider that in their decision. However, I would ask them to extend the courtesy that has gone on for many years, and even actually on this council itself, these 7 members here, there's been past practice of us supporting the individual of the council person who actually nominates or appoints the person from their ward. The Mr. Grisiak, the individual who I nominated, his letter was sent in prior to Mrs. Drumheller's nomination. Is that a factor into it? Some people may consider that a factor. The information that was handed out to council last month, would that be a factor for some individuals? It wasn't for my decision-making, because certainly I actually nominated an individual, so it didn't affect my decision-making. I think it would be righteous for council people to consider that whenever they're making their decision. But all that being said, I would just like to ask council to extend to the second ward the common courtesy that we have done over the years, for many years, and actually this council themselves have extended to other council members, and support the individual that I'm about to appoint. So that being said, I would like to appoint Gary Grisiak from the second ward for the zoning hearing board.
May I make
Second.
a comment? May I make a comment, Mayor?
Motion and a second.
There is a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I would also like to just acknowledge what has been going on last month and this month, last month being the nominations, this month being the appointments. Both of these individuals who, like all individuals who nominate for boards and commissions, have a resume or a description of their background and experience attached, and realizing that, and this comes from something that I learned was probably the most important function of a member of council, and that is to find the best person for the position, whether or not it's serving on the ethics board, as also I think Mr. Is it Grisiak?
Grisiak.
Grisiak also had opted to do. And I'm sure that all individuals who had submitted, and all the ones that certainly this month, have had very good background and experience. The key is to find the right person for the boards and the commission. That's what I learned in the newly elected officials course at Local Government Academy. One of the most important things in boards, commissions, serving the municipality or any place, is to find the person who can carry out the function best. So whether or not they were first, second, they had more than one desire. I honestly looked at the background and experience. I will unfortunately not be voting. I will be voting no on Dr. Grisiak's nomination. Not because I have appointment. Pardon me. Not because I have no courtesy for it, because that is a 5-member board, even though we have 7 wards of council. We often have different council wards that bring up very good candidates. I'm glad. It's a nice problem to have. It's just that it's the best candidate in my background. And I would like to explain that later on. I won't take up any more time now. But I had actually, in response to the past month and this month, this last Thursday, made a point to ask my appointee vote, Mr. Yacom, specifics, since I wanted to find out, since there was so much brought up about him. But I will not be supporting the vote that we're going to have here. So I would be voting no, and I just wanted to be fair about my reason behind that, with all due respect.
Sharon, roll call, please.
Mr. Erb?
No.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
No.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
No.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey?
Oh.
And
Calm down, folks.
Motion to appoint John Yacom.
second.
Discussion?
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Discussion?
Please.
Had that argument been posited initially, that was a valid argument. But what occurred was bullying, plain and simple, threatening and bullying. Roosevelt at the Sorbonne talked about the man in the arena. It's one of the great speeches in American history. I'm not going to quote it, I'm not going to read it, but I will tell you this. As a small businessman, he is that man in the arena. As somebody that's willing to put himself up here, knowing that a snot-nosed kid would uncover information and feed it to people so that he could get abused. Quite frankly, he is that man in the arena. And Roosevelt ended with, the critics don't count. Quite frankly, tax issues in other municipalities outside of Monroeville don't concern Monroeville. The fact that it was a corporation, the fact that it is a corporation that could potentially lose those same properties to pay taxes, the fact that somebody had to uncover that it was a corporation that Mr. Yacom was an owner of. Those are reasons that I think need to be considered. The consideration of the past practice is certainly a consideration. But I'll get to that. I want to read something from somebody that was a slave owner who was against slavery. He was born wealthy, but he died a massive debtor. Said, our greatest happiness does not depend on the condition of life in which chance has placed us, but is always the result of a good conscience, good health, occupation, and freedom in all just pursuits. Here's a philosopher. We also happen to know him as the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and was the father of the University of Virginia. And those are the three things he wants to be remembered by. John is flawed, much like Thomas Jefferson, and much like all of us were, or are. You know, we read the Lord's Prayer, or we recite the Lord's Prayer every single meeting. The person that gave us that prayer said that it is better to do good, or he asked the question, he said, is it better to do good than to adhere to rules as a hypocrite? I can't vote against somebody that I know has integrity and who has honesty and will do things in a way that will be beneficial for Monroeville. The first stone's already been thrown, though. Why do we say the Lord's Prayer? I have no idea, because we certainly don't live it. We get up here and we carpet one another, we make threats to residents, we disparage residents, we scare residents. Well, I'm telling you what I hear. You know, the zoning hearing board is a board of judges. And throughout history, the first thing that you want in a board of judges is somebody that's disinterested and somebody that's compassionate. John is both of those. He's an honest man, and he's compassionate. I've been on both sides of issues with him. There is nobody I know that has a higher degree of integrity than John Yacom.
Tom, you got to stop, please. Can't yell
With
out.
that, if there's any other discussion, fine. Otherwise, it's back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, certainly, Mr. Mayor, over the past close to 2 years, nothing on this council has surprised me, including this evening. I am disappointed in this council for not sticking to past practice, as this courtesy that I personally have extended to members up here for different boards and commissions, and to vote for somebody, it sounds like not for them being the best candidate, but actually voting to spite some individuals who were against that person. And the person who is affected the most is Mr. Griziak, who is an honest, tax-paying resident of Monroeville and a good individual. So I'm just, I'm hoping that this council can make it for 3 more meetings, 3 more months. But I'm very disappointed in this council's actions.
Any other comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
And any other appointments or nominations,
Yes,
council?
Mayor.
Please.
I would like to appoint Linda Holleran to the Human Needs and Resources Advisory Board.
Second.
Questions or comments? We've opened it up all the others.
I just had a question as to whether, do you have any more unfilled after that?
Yeah, I have one to nominate to just.
okay.
Yes, I do. I have one more to nominate.
Okay.
May I ask a question? What term are you appointing her to?
You know what? I never thought to ask for that, and I apologize.
You just want to appoint her to the greatest term?
Yes. Yes.
There was a motion and a second. No comments. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
And Mayor, one more. I would like to nominate Franny Castile for the exact same board, Human Needs and Resources Advisory Board.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Any other appointments or nominations, council?
I would like to nominate Gary Grisiak, Second Ward, for the Ethics Board.
Is there a second? Is there a second, council?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Any other appointments or nominations, council? Seeing none, we'll move over to our public comment on agenda items only. Agenda items only. And I would ask that you please present your comments, your questions, or et cetera, to me in a professional manner. Please sign in, state your name, and obviously if you're from Monroeville, you have to give your address.
Hi, Tom Wilson, Monroeville. I just would like to suggest to council the decision that they made on the appointment, it's part of the agenda, the appointment that they made to the zoning hearing board. Could be a conflict of interest. Because of the history of the person who was just appointed. Therefore, him being on that board could cause lots of problems if I was coming in to ask for a zoning condition or something, and whomever was on that board had issues with paying their taxes. There could be a big conflict of interest here. I suggest that the Ethics Committee looks into this, and we take it a little bit further, and we don't let this thing just sit here. I believe this is a, perhaps not a criminal act, but I believe this is an act that could hurt the community over the long haul. Thank you.
Once again, I'll open it up to any comments on agenda items. If you haven't signed in, please sign in, Beth.
Beth Fishman, Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, I would like to know where the integrity is when a person hides behind a Facebook page and insults every member that comes up here to speak and calls them trailer trash. Now, you may sit there and say, how do I know? I know because I was invited to that Facebook page when it was first opened by Mr. Yakum. It's an open page, I understand that. I'm not on it, but I think it's totally insulting how he degrades, and whoever amongst you help him, you're just as bad as he is. Where's the bullying? And where were the threats? That's what I would like to know.
Address your to me.
Where's the bullying and where's the threats?
I have no answer for that.
Were you at the meeting? Did you hear bullying? Did you hear threats?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear me say that there were taxes owed to Monroeville?
Yes, you did.
Just so we're clear on that. Fine. The other thing I would like to clarify is the Citizens Night minutes of August 8th, since they've been approved. I think it's an appropriate agenda item. At Citizens Night last Thursday, I'm sorry, Mrs. Drumheller made a big point of going through and saying how Mr. Yakum was only explaining the law and she's citing a statute. She should have done her homework and gone back to Citizens Night of August 8th. At that meeting, Mr. Yakum stated that the report, and the report he was referring to was the one Chief Pasquarella addressed with you in executive session, so how he's even privy to the report that was addressed is beyond me. The report revealed several members of our fire department were reviewing a rape report of a young woman. The rumor is that this woman is actually a juvenile, a girl. So curious firefighters, according to the news report, were viewing the rape report of a girl. I have that on video if you would like to see it, if you have any doubt. Those are Mr. Yakum's own words.
I agree with you.
The only way Mr. Yakum would know that, again, is if he saw the incident report. If the incident report was given to him, I ask that an investigation be conducted to find out who gave it to him, how he saw it, and have that person brought before Mr. McKinney for a Loudermill hearing. Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will open it up to public comment on agenda items only.
Mr. Mayor,
State your
Robert
name.
Serafini, Monroeville.
Thank you.
We had a presentation tonight of the 4 people who got the recommendations and the awards. I also think Mr. Harvey should have gotten an award too on that. I mean, he was mentioned in there, and I think he did a great job, and I'd just like him I just-
Point well taken.
Okay. Dr. Griesbach, I apologize for the 4 people who went against you tonight. I think,
Bob,
Doug,
please address me.
I just want to say apology to you. Mr. Mayor, last time at the meeting on Thursday night, you told us you were going to get some answers and give it to us tonight regarding the HIPAA bill, the police.
It's supposed to be agenda items, only. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it has to be
I have to
agenda
wait to the
items.
end, the public comment.
Yeah, you have to, on this agenda, Bob.
Was this not the minutes of last week?
It's not an agenda item.
It's not an agenda item, though, Bob.
There's a time for it at the end of the meeting.
There's a time for it at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I just wanted all the things brought up that you said you were going to get. That's all I wanted to do. And you 4 people, I hope you get what you deserve.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please. Hi, Dan, please sign in and state your name for the record.
Dan Alexander, Monroeville resident, also candidate for council. I just have some questions regarding these nominations and that. You said that everybody submits a resume or something. Are these facts in these resumes, have they been, does anybody do a background check? To see, I mean, I could put down I'm an MIT graduate. Who's going to check?
I don't know if that's really,
My point is, I was looking up in the Home Rule Charter, and I could be wrong, I might have missed it, but I was looking up and seeing what are the qualifications to be on one of these commissions. And all I could find is you have to be a Monroeville resident.
that's true.
I think that should change. I think somebody should make a resolution to change that. As a candidate, Pennsylvania Article 2, Section 7 says, I can't be a convicted felon, or I can't hold any office if I'm a convicted felon. I'm not saying anybody on the commission or nominations or anything like that, but what my point is, you could have somebody who was convicted of embezzlement on the Finance Commission and nobody checks. Okay, you could have somebody, who is convicted of ethics crimes on the ethics board. Nobody checks, and I think that's wrong. You should. If I want to help out with the Gateway Band, wheeling their xylophone out on the field, like they call the pit crew, I have to have an FBI fingerprint done and all kind of background checks just to wheel a xylophone out on the field. And we can have people on the zoning board, on the planning commission, all this stuff, and we don't know anything about them. We have no background at all. And I think that's very dangerous. I think that's very dangerous, and I think we need to change that.
Certainly good food for thought. Thank you, Dan.
Linda Gatus, Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, I'll address this to you.
Please.
I want to basically thank Mr. Erb for saying that had it not come out about the taxes, that he would have gone along with the political courtesy. But to spite us, because the information came out about the taxes, he's changed his vote. And that's pretty much what he said. And I find it appalling that the political courtesy given to everybody up here was not given to that man sitting in Ward 2.
Once again, I'll leave it open for anybody that wants to address council on agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll close that portion of our meeting and we'll go over to new business. And this is 13-5-ST Chambers Development Company, Inc. And Paul, I'm going to kind of throw the ball to you, sir.
Absolutely. This is, like you said, Chambers Development Company. Applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct a 6,400 square foot bulk recycling handling building and associated site amenities. The 389.38 acre parcel is located at 600 Thomas Street in the L Special Uses Zoning District. The Planning Commission recommends approval with conditions. And Mr. Simonetti is here from Waste Management if anybody has any questions. Rich, take these up with you. My board is missing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the board. I'm
It's
sorry.
in front of you, Paul.
Can you hand that to him, please?
You want to sign in, sir, please?
Sure. Yeah, just give it to Rich. Thank you. I have a new assistant.
I see that.
Rich, use that board, just face down, face it towards you. There you go. Thank you.
Mr. Simonetti, please state your name and who you represent.
Rich Simonetti, I'm the manager at the Monroeville landfill. As we went through the zoning commission meeting a few weeks ago.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, sorry. We intend to put a 6,400 square foot steel building to house recyclables from our collections from our North Huntington and other sites around here. Also, the borough of Monroeville will be able to use that site to cut down on the trucking down through the Parkway, down to Neville Island to Green Star. That'll eliminate a lot of truck traffic, fuel consumption, and time consumption for Monroeville.
We're very appreciative of
and
that.
us. So we're here to get a permit. We're waiting for the DEP permit to come in probably around October, November. We already applied for that, and that's already on its way to get approved. We're looking for the building permit from council. We already got it approved from the zoning.
Planning.
And answer any questions you guys might have. Planning.
Yeah, that's okay, Mr.
Well, we discussed this in length, if I remember correctly, last week, and unless somebody else has something to say, I would recommend that we just move forward and approve it.
Second.
I make a motion, I'm sorry, to approve it.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Congratulations. I wish everything was that easy up here.
Thank you.
Have a good day, sir. Good luck with your project. Ordinances, Mr. Dice.
Yes, the first ordinance is an ordinance to provide for an amendment to the 2013 general fund budget sponsored by Manager McKinney.
If you remember, council, we did discuss this at length on Thursday. If there's no other questions, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, good, Lynette.
Can I just make one comment? Council had asked for a breakdown of the special legal counsel. That's behind the ordinance per attached, so everyone can see the to-date amounts.
So we're at 89,000.
Right, that would be for our outside special legal counsel, for our Civil Service Commission, our OPEB, and in accordance with the HIPAA situation.
The majority of which is towards the HIPAA situation, correct?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
And then this is right as of today, as of the 10th.
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
A motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
No.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Dice.
The last ordinance is an ordinance amending ordinance 1774-2479, section 307.4, and repealing ordinance number 2583, establishing regulations for the transportation, process, storage, and disposal, and hours of garbage and rubbish collection, sponsored by the staff.
As again, council, we did discuss this at length on Thursday. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mrs. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mrs. Drumheller?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Erb?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Dice. And we'll move back over to public comments. And this is for any issue you want to address council with, please come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Manager McKinney, Solicitor Dice.
If you could
Good
state
evening
your
to all
name.
of you. My name is John Yakum. I am a resident of Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to address council and you this evening. Council, thank you for approving me and having trust in me to serve in the zoning hearing board. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank the police department for extra manpower here last week. I know that you have received at least one email from a resident who stated that she was afraid to attend these meetings. I understand and share her fear. Having the police present certainly helps alleviate that fear. Several months ago, besides being rudely referred to as heavyset, I was also accused of wasting taxpayer dollars by requesting information of our government. For the record, the major part of the First Amendment is to permit the questioning of our government. Mr. Mayor, as an advocate of the First Amendment, I would think you would applaud the questioning of our government. It is my understanding the council was recently presented with our annual auditor's report. I find it interesting that one of their suggestions can be traced directly to my right-to-know requests. Mr. Mayor, I have several questions regarding this report. It is my understanding that thousands and thousands of dollars of police task force overtime was never billed to the federal government. Was there ever an investigation into the underbilling of the police overtime?
Continue.
Okay. In an affidavit signed by Manager Silka, an investigation was opened. Do you know if he ever completed that investigation?
Continue.
Okay. Did the overtime actually occur, or was it part of a bigger fraud? Was any disciplinary action taken on the person who was responsible to bill the federal government for the use of our detectives?
Continue.
The second area I would like to question is regarding recycling and our Public Works Department. It is my understanding that Public Works generates a large amount of recycled material. The auditor's report suggests a better accounting of the proceeds from this recycling. It is my understanding that Public Works employees accumulate recyclable metals and turn this into a recycler that pays cash for these materials. It is my understanding that these payouts have added up to thousands and thousands of dollars over the last several years. Mr. Mayor, here's the question. Where is the accounting of the cash received?
Continue.
How long has this practice been going on?
Continue.
Did it occur when Mr. Duncan, Councilman Duncan, was superintendent?
Continue.
Title 18, Section 4113 states that it is a second-degree misdemeanor for misapplication of entrusted property. Will the police be investigating the potential theft, or will it be referred to the district attorney?
Continue.
Finally, Mr. Mayor, last month, you and Mr. Kalari discussed a directive or an email from Manager McKinney that stated that she was looking for layoffs from each department. At least twice during that exchange, you seemed to confirm that the email existed and that it instructed department heads to look for employees to lay off. The word layoff was used several times. I did a little of my own research, Mr. Mayor. As you know, there are not many secrets in this town. Many things that should not be made public seem to find their way into the media or these meetings. So, Mr. Mayor, I have one question. Were you being intentionally misleading, or was it an honest mistake that you and Mr. Kalari kept using the word layoff? From what I am hearing, the email did not say layoff, but instead said restructure and eliminate positions. This does not...
Mayor, can I respond?
Wait till he's finished.
This does not mean layoff, and I am concerned that your choice of the word layoff was meant to frighten municipal employees and the residents. Thank you for the opportunity to address my concerns.
Thank you, sir. Steve, you had a comment.
Yes.
You are done then, right, John?
I have the email in front of me, and it says, in preparation of the 2014 budget, I have asked department heads at our staff meeting yesterday and by email for those who were absent to please bring with them to their budget meetings next week some restructuring ideas of how we could possibly reduce personnel. Does that sound like layoff? Or it does to me.
That's eliminate.
At least one employee, and larger departments, at least two. This, of course, would include the police department as well. That's the email.
Anything else, Mr. Duncan?
That's all I have.
Once again, it's your time to address council, so please come on up, sign in. And again, try to address your comments to me.
I know.
Please.
Okay.
Folks.
My name's Betsy Desmond. I was coming up here for a totally different thing. But I'm going to address the bullying thing, okay? Okay, because I've been bullied my whole life growing up because we moved to a nice neighborhood in Monroeville. Oh, and by the way, I'm a full-blooded Monroeville person, born and raised, lived here all my life. And my father got sick, and he died, and I was poor, and I was bullied all my life. Clarence will tell you he's known me for 30 years. I don't lie. I don't try to hurt anybody. Do I, Clarence? No. I've helped my community. I didn't always live in Garden City. I came from the other side of Monroeville. I've raised 2 kids. Lois brought up this book. I went to my doctor's, and he even said to me, how's it going in the politics? I said, not good, Dr. Paul. And he knew about the book. He said, well, he said, I understand the book, he said, but I wouldn't have brought that up. See, the book I read and I live by, not when I was younger, but I read my Bible every day. And maybe if you picked it up and read it, it will tell you how to treat people, how to live. One of the things is to pay the taxes. Anybody in this back room that knows me, that's sitting back here, when it came with Clarence, and even when it came with John, I did not like that coming out, but it had to. I asked every council person in here, when these elections started, please listen to the residents. I don't know everybody in Monroeville, but they proved what they wanted. And this 3 and 4 and whatever, and just what you did to Nick, that was a slap in the face. And they bullied Nick. So you want to talk about bullying? I know about bullying. And I've had to fight all my life because I couldn't go to college and I couldn't have braces and I couldn't have this. I know what bullying is. Mr. Yakum is bullying also. I've known John. John will tell you how long he's known me, that I'm not a bad person. I've asked him to stop this. But as far as books go, the Bible's the book you should be reading.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please.
Hello, Tina Mueller, lifelong resident of Monroeville. Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
At last week's council work session, Councilwoman Drumheller referred to the George Orwell novel, Animal Farm. She probably thought we all missed that because she thinks we're such trailer trash, but I did pick up on that, and I had read the book. She referenced the line, "Some animals are more equal than others," to describe what she felt was a bias that her detractors held for Doug Cole. Since only a precious few people have been fired from the municipality in the last decade, other than this prior administration, I can only assume she was referring to the fact that many people were in council chambers defending Doug Cole, whereas they did not show up several years ago when the director of parks was fired. I would like to point out that the previous administration fired the director of parks, one person. The general public was unaware of the circumstances of this firing, so it remained that in their minds, a single firing. When the existing administration fired Manager Little, the public noticed a little bit, but there weren't any protests. It remained a single firing. The existing administration then fired the Director of Technology. Again, no protests, no comments. Afterwards, another manager, Manager Silka, was fired. That's when the public started noticing. The next step was the administration demoting Doug Cole. And let's be perfectly honest, he was suspended and he had a hearing. They are planning on firing him. So that's 4. The citizens got angry and started attending meetings and protesting because it looked bad. No longer for the employees that were fired, but for the administration. Now they fired 3 dispatchers. That's 7 people. One administration fired 7 people in about 2 years. All the previous administrations had never done anything like that. One has to wonder, given Mrs. Drumheller's comments, if all of this isn't retaliation for the firing of the Parks Director. It also appears as if anyone who is the slightest bit friendly to you, Mr. Mayor, is acted against.
That's fact.
The council majority's obvious hatred for you and for other people that disagree with them is being spewed vehemently at every opportunity. Any noble ideals the council majority may have had when they were first elected, or Mrs. McKinney when she was first hired, have obviously been replaced with vitriol, torment, and a stubborn belief that nothing they do is wrong or unacceptable. They feel like, I guess, what they think should be the ends justify the means. Mrs. Drumheller also implied that the representation in the audience only reflected the opinion of a small portion of the residents. I think perhaps if the councilwoman needs proof of the opinions of the residents, she need only look at the results of this year's primary election, in which the voting public made it quite obvious how they felt. I would ask that the existing majority take a cue from that vote and cease their endless torment and their threats and their bullying against the municipal employees, especially being that it seems like it's just a way to get back at the elected officials and managers who disagree with them. You only have a few more months left in office. Kindly do not use it for retaliation, or else you might completely destroy this municipality.
I had all intentions of staying. Lori Picusa, lifelong resident.
Thank you, Lori.
I had all intentions of staying at home. I actually made it a joke. There was a whole, I was going to watch this and actually make a drinking game out of it. I want to tell you, I am absolutely, you sit here and you talk about the bullying. Let me tell you about the bullying on the person that you just voted. 3 months ago, after one of your meetings, he kept asking me to step outside with him so he could talk to me, because he thought we would have a lot in common as to what to discuss. And he would not let up, until finally I think he found out my maiden name, saw my mother, kind of stepped off a little, because I think maybe he knows that my brother wouldn't put up with it. After that, saw that my husband was here, and all of a sudden, didn't want to go outside to discuss anything. However, when I was bullied, nobody called the Monroeville police to escort me to my car. I handled it all on my own. You guys have this line drawn. Get over it. This isn't about who has more friends. Do you really think that that candidate that you guys put in here, do they really think that the candidate that they put in here is going to be any better? This is a man who, I'll be very honest with you, should know more than anything as to ethics with HIPAA and different things like that. And I've not bashed him because of a professional courtesy to him with my job. But I'll tell you what, if he wants to play this game, this is crazy. You have a person on the zoning board who won't pay his taxes, who costs the municipality money left and right, and who has slandered almost everybody, except for the Fabulous Four, up here on their non-existing Facebook page, or even on a Facebook page he had before, whatever. He seems to be the one that always has the information. And you guys have this in your minds that this is a Doug versus Steve thing. Let me tell you, it's not. I've known Doug my whole life. Nice guy, adore him. I've known Steven my whole life, love the entire Pascarella family. They're all fantastic. This is not about Steve and Doug. I don't know why you guys keep thinking that. This is about the money that gets pissed away because of your inappropriate comments and attitudes and not thinking before you do things. This is unbelievable that you would do this. Do you have a HIPAA officer? Do you have a privacy officer?
Yes.
And that person is whom?
He just said like one, no, he's our records officer.
We don't have, no one, no
Perhaps
community that
you
I
guys should
represent
stop
is a
and
HIPAA
think,
officer.
should we get a HIPAA officer?
Hang on one second, Lord. Mr. Dice, would you just make that one comment? Hang on, folks, please.
I don't know of any community around that has a HIPAA.
Do you think possibly with the things that have happened here, it might be something to look into? Do your employees have HIPAA training?
Sure.
They do.
When you say the employees, I believe the EMTs, I think they get some training in that.
Yes.
I don't
Do your
think the
dispatch
firemen.
have, does your dispatch have HIPAA?
I think they probably do.
Do your police officers have HIPAA training?
I don't know.
Okay.
Lori, I don't know that either.
Maybe these are things, and I understand the whole investigation is water under the bridge. And at the end, I will ask a question, since we were all confirming and denying rumors on Tuesday, or Thursday, whatever day. But you guys paid this money, it's over and it's done with. Don't sit it there and not read it. Sit it and make it to your advantage. Because if you guys think that you're the best municipality out there, you're by far mistaken. I go to Texas for my work, and they ask me how it's going here. Because my company is one of the companies that decided to move in here. And they're wondering if it's a mistake. There you go. So you want to, when I'm down in Texas and they say, hey, what's going on? How many more severance packages are you guys paying? That looks bad. So you guys need to stop, take that report, look it over. You guys have committees for everything in the world. Create a committee. Go through it and make changes. And if there were violations that go on, being a HIPAA violation is one thing. Being something that's wrong is another. And those are the things, I'm not saying that the things that happened here in the last 2-3 years were not wrong. They probably were. And you know what? You live by it and you learn from it. And you took the person that you put on the committee, remember, Steve just filed one complaint. The person that you put on is the one that changed it from a one complaint to a many complaint. So there's a difference too. So maybe you should stop putting the people on your committees that are going to be the ones to stir the pot. He has tried to talk to me for the last 2 months. I won't even look at him. You know why? Because he's not worth my time. And he should not be worth anybody else's time in here for the fact that he's done the things that he's done. I'm disappointed at all of you. I cannot believe that you cannot think for yourself. And I would love to see what you guys would think if you guys didn't vote like this out loud. This is crazy. And if I hear one more time, and Mr. Dice, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask him, if I hear one more time, this is the committee, we had to go with this independent counsel because that's what Solicitor Dice told us. Perhaps, did Solicitor Dice tell you that because you went against what he asked you to do? So you needed to have an outside representation for the lawsuits that's going to follow. So you have this man here, intelligent as can be, I'm quite sure. He has an entire staff. If you don't like an answer he gives you, maybe say, you know what, Bruce, not too sure on that. Let's check with somebody else. But instead of going against him time after time and costing us money, maybe, no offense, Mr. Dice, if you don't believe in him, get rid of him. Because then you won't have to hire other outside attorneys to come in and do the things you do here. And for all the times that we sit up here and everybody keeps saying that the municipal employees are afraid to speak up and do anything, did you ever think about getting a confidential ethics line?
It's a good idea, by the way.
Because then people could call in, say things, whether it's a resident saying, Joe Schmo's sleeping in his car outside my house for the last 6 hours, or somebody that works for you guys, then people would not be afraid to speak up. Because to be afraid to speak where you live, that's kind of like being afraid to speak up at your dinner table. That is bullying. He knows bullying. You guys are all just disgusting.
Valerie Warning, Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, last week's citizen meeting, I questioned a rumor about the anticipating firing of the municipal manager without cause. You also confirmed that you had also heard of this rumor. Would I be correct in saying that this action would have to take place within the next 2 months while the majority of the members that sit on this council still have the majority vote? Maybe you or other members of council could explain to me and to the Monroeville taxpayers why the 4 members of council, the majority vote of council, fought to get her into this position and now 6 months later want to fire her. 6 months ago, Ms. McKinney's salary as a secretary was $45,000. Now it has been increased to $88,000. To us taxpayers, having Mrs. McKinney being fired without cause, her severance package would include her present salary of $88,000. Again, the majority of this council is spending money that the municipality does not have. And again, Monroeville will be without another municipal manager. To the members of council that voted Mrs. McKinney in, do these actions show that you truly have the best interest of Monroeville at heart? Seeing the consequences of the actions that were made by the majority of this council and the embarrassment that it has brought to Monroeville, we can look forward to January when new council will take office and clean up this mess that has been brought on by the majority of current council. Hopefully then council will do the duties that they were elected to do. Thank you.
Betsy Desmond, Monroeville. The reason I was coming up is I wanted to tell you, Mayor, that the municipal guys, the workers, did a great job of taking that house down on Evergreen Drive. They really did an excellent job. All the people in the neighborhood are saying how happy that black mold is gone in the air. I mean, you know, you see companies, people hire companies to do that, and it was just our guys out there.
I got an email on that, Beth. Said
yeah, they did, and it's nice. It's all.
Already said it, so.
Yeah, it's nice.
Matter of fact, that email I got even suggested one other building over there, another house over there that might be needed looked at.
Yeah, but and they did it quickly, quickly. So tell them I said thanks.
Thank you, Betsy.
Lou Smith, Monroeville. I've come to the conclusion that there's a sickness in this room, there's an illness in this room, and ladies and gentlemen, it's called evil. Evil. I have never in my life, Mayor, seen people so evil. I put people in jail for years that weren't as evil as some of these people in this room. The things they're doing to the employees, to the Monroeville residents, it's unbelievable to me, and to a lot of people. We have a person that was just put on a zoning board here that it's been a proven fact, hasn't paid his taxes. We had a sitting councilman up here, hasn't paid his taxes. And I'd like you to ask Mr. Erb if he's going to pay his taxes.
What are you referring to?
I had understood that maybe you owed some back taxes too. If it's true, tell me. If not, deny it.
It's not true.
Okay, that's good.
There's a business that I used to work for that owes the municipality back taxes, and frankly, I'm taking it out of my own money to make sure that it's paid before I'm out of office.
Anyhow, we're about to step over a parapet here into an abyss with what's going to happen here very soon with Mr. Doug Cole. And when Lynette steps into that abyss, it's going to be into real deep stuff. If she fires this man, which I think is going to be coming probably this week. At least that's my feeling. I'm going to give you some numbers, and I'm going to add them up for you real quick. 38, 36, 28. That comes to 100. That's how many jobs Doug Cole had in this municipality, and for how many years he did them. He's only 53 years old, and he's done 100 years worth of work for this community. And what's happening to him and his family is beyond imagination. I feel for this guy because of what these people are doing to him out here. I will never sit until I get this rectified, me and a lot of others. And I just want you to know, if you do it, I'm going to be coming. And I'll tell you what, It'll get rectified. It's going to take a couple court cases, but it will get rectified. I was dismayed also when I saw the 3 dispatchers that were let go. I think that was done for a twofold purpose. I think they were called collateral damage, because now it can be said, well, hey, I wasn't just picking on Doug Cole. I took out 3 dispatchers too. And although the manager, Mayor, has had applications sitting on her desk for part-time and full-time people in that dispatch center, never been acted on, Mayor, yet they had all kind of overtime coming out of there, okay? Now, with these people gone, it's a perfect time to say the overtime and the workload is too much. We got to go to the county. So that's a twofold purpose that I see the reason this was done. And I just hope that 4 members of council here put some controls on this runaway train, as I said last week. It's running Monroeville. That's all I have to say.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is your time to address council. If you'll please come on up.
Dan Alexander again. Got a quick question. I see there's a lot of passion over things like this, what's been going on this evening. My question is there as much passion being put on one of the real problems with Monroeville, which is the budget? I think one of the residents came up here this evening was going to ask the question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. Is anything being addressed as far as the budget goes? Do we know? I think Mrs. Allison last month alluded that while some parts of the budget were not meeting, we're falling short, there are other things we're doing better on and actually getting more money in. And I think somebody was going to look and kind of see where the numbers are. Do we know where the numbers are? How much of a deficit we actually do have? And is anything being done to address that now?
Yeah, as if you recall, Dan, I did request of the manager and Susan to give us some idea of where we're at and put that out publicly. Annette just said that she does have those numbers, so.
Okay, will we see them? Or
Under my
no?
report.
In her
Under my
report.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Once again, folks, I open the floor up. Take your time.
You don't want me to do that?
Nancy Lapsovich, Monroeville.
Hi, Nance, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am well.
Good. Hope everybody here is. I have a few things to say. I just started this year coming to the meetings because I used to sit at home and watch them, and it was like comic relief. So I thought I'll come and see it in person. It's opened my eyes a bit. It certainly has. A couple questions, because I do come to the meetings, and people know that. They've been coming to me with questions that I certainly can't answer.
If I can, I
So
will.
I would like to broach them here. The number one question that numerous people have stopped and asked me was a comment that Dr. Griesok had made. A few people had heard him make it about a new sergeant for police chief.
I never said that.
Sergeant Lukowitz had been asking, he had supposedly been asking some of the officers what they thought about him. Now, I don't know this gentleman, never had an issue with him. I just wondered, you know, we're in the throngs of everything else. Are we looking for a new chief? And by the bylaws, I thought it was up to the municipal manager to do that, give appointments, suggestions, and it's up to the council for their yay or nay. Like I said, this is new to me, so it may be.
I think that that's a rumor. I don't
what I needed to hear.
know anything about that,
Okay.
Nance. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I have a whole list here. And that there is a new manager already picked out.
Again, you're throwing rumors out that I have no answer for. I wish.
Well, it just seems, the last meeting, Mr. Johns made a comment that he wants to be here so he can see Lynette be escorted out. There's things, you had made a comment about it being a lame duck council. Well, it's been a lame duck council since the elections. We know who's staying, we know who's leaving.
Well, by law, though, it's lame duck after November.
But in the meantime, all this mudslinging to each other, all the mudslinging the audience is giving to each other and to the council is quite inappropriate. I think, in the words of that great statesman Rodney King, can't we just all get along? There's only a few months left. Do what you have to do for the betterment of the municipality.
Can't argue with you on that, Nance.
That's all I'm saying. My questions were answered. Thank you all.
Sorry I wasn't more helpful.
Mayor, if I could respond?
Please.
Regarding any kind of comment or questioning to Officer Lukowitz about becoming police chief, I deny that. I don't know where that came from in any way. I do agree that it is the manager's role to hire a police chief. We've certainly have seen that the past year. And quite frankly, I can't get an individual on the zoning hearing board, let alone hire a police chief. So I deny that. I don't know where it came from, but there are certainly a lot of rumors out there, and I do understand there are rumors, but I certainly deny that, and I don't know where it came from.
Once again, folks, I will keep the floor open for as long as you choose to address council. Please.
Hi, Mayor. I'm John Ritter. I would like to apologize for my little outburst there. I said, "Is that a threat?" And it's not like me to
John,
spill
you
over.
don't have
I'm
to
sorry.
apologize.
I apologize.
You don't have to do that. Once again, folks, I will open up the floor.
Ron Harvey,
Sign in, Ron.
resident of Monroeville, also chief of Monroeville Number 5 Fire Company. And believe it or not, I didn't come to talk about any of this. I was going to give a little bit of good news and some information.
Good news is good.
Last meeting, firefighter Pat Douglas from Station 4 came up and announced to you that we were having and sponsoring a open house at the training center, and I wanted to remind everybody of that. Maybe there's some people that weren't watching last meeting, and that it's October 5th, pretty much all day, and the fire departments have gotten together and purchased a large quantity of batteries that we're going to give out free to the residents for their smoke detectors for Fire Prevention Weekend. They probably should fit your CO detectors too if you have them. So anybody that visits us there will be able to pick these batteries up for free. That's our encouragement to get people to change the batteries, because that's probably the worst. The time the smoke detector doesn't work and we're on calls, we find the battery dead or missing. So that's our encouragement to get everybody to do that. Secondly, as the mayor said in the beginning of the meeting, I would hope that everybody would honor 9/11 tomorrow and maybe stop by a fire station or shake a policeman's hand, or just stop in and show your appreciation for what they do. I had the privilege to go to New York City shortly after that, and actually it was several years, I guess, but it's amazing. If you ever get the chance, you should do it and visit the public safety people up there. They are incredible. I was hesitant to talk to them and breach them because I figured they would be tired of all this by now. You have to remember how many people probably visit them every year, And it was amazing, the reception. They are the nicest. The police department and the fire department and the EMS people that I met were the most friendly people I have met in my 43-year career as a firefighter and a police officer. They were amazing. They took us on tours of their buildings. They talked about that day and told me things that you would never believe. And some of them talk about it and some of them don't. But the police station in Greenwich Village is the closest police station to Ground Zero. You would be awarding yourself to go see the lobby of their station and the museum that they built for that day. And the fire station 1010, which is engine 10, truck 10, is literally right beside Ground Zero, and you would behoove yourself to go see them. And the bronze wall behind that some architect donated. It's just worth it. If you ever get the chance or you're ever up there for another reason, stop in and talk to these people. But as of tomorrow, we have enough local people that you can visit or stop or shake their hand. And I think they would really appreciate it because any of them would do the same thing. And so I just wanted to reiterate that.
Announce out your date one more time for the our Community Day.
Okay, thank you.
No, Mark.
You want to
Wrong.
announce it?
Say it again. October what, 5th?
I did. I said
I said do it again. You didn't hear me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you were going to say it.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm the one with the bad hearing.
No, October 5th, again, at the Training Academy. As Pat said, they're going to put signs up and to help direct you there because it is a little bit out of the way. Many people that have never been there before might have some trouble. But
From when to when, Ron?
I believe it's going to be from 8 to 4, but I don't remember the time she said, I'll be honest with you. But I believe that is correct. It's going to be all day long.
I was just going to say, thank you, Joe. It is 10
I
to
was going to
4.
be wrong, but either way. So anyway, tomorrow, spend a second and give a moment of silence or stop by, and see one of the public service workers.
We can do that. Thank you, Ron, for your service as well.
I knew I was going to forget something. I'm sorry. I wanted to thank the gentleman for recognizing me down at that accident, but believe me, I was nothing compared to the medics and firemen that were first on scene. Number 4, Station 4, had guys under that machine the whole time with that gentleman. There was a lot of people and a lot of firemen from 3 fire stations, not to mention the surgeons and the doctors and the life flight crew and that did a lot more work than I did, and they're the ones that deserve the applause. The teamwork is what did it, and including Dave McGill's guys.
There is no question it was absolutely a good team
Just wanted
effort.
to let you know. Thank you.
Folks, we really need to really think about that. I agree with Ron. Don't forget tomorrow, shake one of our officers' hands if you see him, or at least wave to him. Certainly our fire as well as our EMS personnel. As I stated earlier, sometimes we take these folks for granted because we don't use them and prayerfully you never need them. But if you do, they're there. So one more time, open it up. You want to come up and address council, please?
That's a tough act to follow,
Yeah, but he forgot half of what he was going to say, so you're okay.
Tom Kimikata, Monroeville. I guess I'd like to start with a question.
Sorry, did you sign in, sir?
Sorry about that. I guess I'll start by signing in.
After him.
I don't follow these things that closely, but is it true that the gentleman who was just nominated for zoning owes back taxes?
Apparently, it was proven last Thursday.
Okay. Is it earned income or real estate taxes?
I do believe it's real estate. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. Has a payment plan or some sort of
That would be
something
between the
been worked
resident
out?
and the taxing body, so
Mayor?
I don't know that.
Mayor?
Please.
In my report, I had mentioned briefly before that vote
Mhm.
that I had asked for an explanation, which I was going to save for my report. So I actually have something, but I was going to save that for my report.
And when will that report be given?
Well, reported the officials at the end here after we're through here.
Okay, so you'll address that after we're done? Okay, thank you. Because it just, strikes me as
I
odd
was as curious as you, so that's why I asked.
that we would vote in somebody in any capacity
Yeah.
who owes taxes and doesn't have a plan to pay them.
That's right.
So I would look forward to hearing your report. And because I was going to Mr. Erb, since you so kindly quoted the Bible, right? It teaches us, give to God what is God, and give to Caesar what is Caesar's, right? So, and then I guess I would ask, in relation to all of the things that have gone on here this year, that there's 4 of you that won't be coming back next year. And, as armies retreat, common tactic is to burn the fields as they go, so that their enemies have no food to eat. I would hope that that tactic is not being implemented here. There's a lot of damage that's been done this year. The hole's been dug pretty deep, and it appears it may be dug deeper. And those are financial burdens that all of us taxpayers are going to have to fill that hole with money. That has to do with severance packages, lawsuits, legal fees, okay? The 4 of you are only here a few more months. It would do everybody a service to just do nothing. Just relax, enjoy your last couple of months in office, and stop making decisions and voting on things that could potentially cost this municipality even more money, not to mention all the certainly regional and national embarrassment that we received around the country. Okay? I do know Doug Cole. I've known him a long time. I don't appreciate what's been done to him or his family. But in fairness to the 4 of you, there are multiple investigations going on. Let them run their course. That's why they do investigations, is to allow for independent determination of right or wrong, or guilt or not guilt. And I think what's been going on here is bad, and it should end, right? There's no reason to continue this for the last few months that you guys are in office. Okay? And I look forward to hearing your report, Lois. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been requested that we take a short recess, so we're going to do about 5 minutes.
Is public comment done?
Well, I was going to go back to public
Well, I
comment.
know,
She
that's
needs a
why,
break.
why don't you just ask, is there any more?
Any other public comment?
Okay, so that's closed.
We'll close that portion of the meeting, then we'll go to reports of the officials. But we're going to recess for about 5 minutes.